Let's talk about pitch control for a second. As you've seen in the title, can a wing be too safe? There's something to be said for passive safety. Passive safety will get you pretty far along, but as an instructor, I find personally that it tends to hold back the proper inputs for correct pilot progression and paragliding. This is just going to be a talk video. I know some of you want to see the flying, but it's kind of ugly outside for flying for now. In a couple hours it's going to be good, and I'm going to make a video about that too. So coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. Specifically, the wing that I see most people having trouble with is the Ozone Mojo. Now, I've flown several of these gliders, new, used up, small, large, in between. I've got a lot of experience with this glider. I've come across several of them over the years. I can fly them, I can launch them, they're doable. I find that you're gonna really be shorting yourself if you choose that wing as your first wing. There's nothing wrong with having the wing in a school situation, but let me just tell you the biggest fumble that I see happening with the wing. Guys come down on the brakes a little bit, and maybe they're not going fast enough, and boom, down the wing goes behind them. And I've seen it happen on tow launches. I've seen it happen flying, trying to launch as they go into nil winds. What I see students struggle with most often is pitch control. That's the glider, you know, coming back, going forward, like it falls back, they hit the gas, it shoots over their head, and when it gets out in front of you, that's when it takes a collapse. That's when it folds, when it frontals. Whether you're on the ground, whether you're in the air, when the wing gets out in front of you or takes a hit from the side, you know, if it's not pitch stable, you're gonna have trouble. Now with the Mojo, it hangs so far back, it's trimmed so far back that it'll come up and it'll fly, but just barely. And to attain that A-rated certification, it's got to hang back, it's got to open quick, it's got to present a lot of itself into the wind. So on the other side of that coin, it doesn't allow you the proper skills to hit the brakes and stop that glider from overshooting you. Starting out with something that's just a little better, and I've been leaning towards the Universal by Dudek. There are others. The Mojo does okay if you let the trims all the way out, but if you let the trims all the way out, you lose that certification anyway, and it puts it more of a higher performance profile. But at that point, you're at the end of the glider. You can't progress from that. Whereas if you get something like the Universal, and again, I'm just picking the two wings here that I've got the most experience with. There are lots of other wings. I'm an Ozone dealer. I'm a Dudek dealer, but you know, the two offerings that I see from these two companies, I gotta give my nod to the Universal, and not for any sort of profiteering, but just what I'm seeing in the world, teaching people to fly paragliders, learning myself. These are things that come up. And I see a lot of people not develop the pitch control that's required because they're flying a Mojo. The thing wants to fall back. Even in strong winds, the thing falls back. Now look, if you fly a Mojo and you can launch it no problem and it never falls back, bravo. I'm happy for you. I know, I can too. But again, you're not going to be flexing those skills that you need for like really good progression, where the pitch control, you don't get as much pitch control exercise as you do with something that's, you know, middle B, low B, high B even. Those are sort of the profiles of gliders that'll give you the most exercise in that. And when you develop those controls, it makes, you know, flying becomes easy. They retain almost as much passive safety. Now, if you're in a situation where you need passive safety, you've probably stepped off into bigger conditions than you need to be anyway. Again, nice, gentle air, it doesn't matter if you're on a dang two-liner, you know. Very little is going to happen to this wing. It's when things get spicy that it comes into play. And having those pitch control skills that you've developed is going to help you navigate through that spicier air better than if you've let the wing just stay open because it stays open, right? That's not how we fly. We fly, hopefully you're progressing to the point where you're wanting to try a better wing, a saltier ride, but you got to have those skills, and it's hard to develop those skills on something that is so safe, that hangs so far back, that there's almost no way to get the thing to shoot out in front of you. Now, obviously you can. I'm not speaking impossibilities here. I'm not Super Dale. I'm not saying there's only one and it's better than all the others. There's something to be said for a wing being too safe. Now, if you're going out in raunchy conditions and big thermal conditions and you don't have the skill required to keep a glider open yourself, then that may be something that you may want to fly a Mojo in something like that, right? If you're launching off a slope, if you've got wind, that thing, the hanging back is not going to be such a big deal. But for paramotor, motor launches and developing proper kiting skills, I just don't see it going that well with that wing. Now, if you look at Ozone's next offering, the Spider, all right? That wing, very nice. It's a B wing. You can tie in the 2D steering. You've got a trim range that you can use. But again, when we pit a wing like that against the Universal does all those same things, and it's about $400 cheaper. So you can grow into both of those wings nicely. The only thing I can give to the Spider as far as the nod is it's a lighter weight material. It gives slightly better inflation characteristics. Wings that are lighter inflate easier. That's a given. We all know this. But we're not talking about very much here. We're talking about if the dew deck has say it's 5% harder to inflate, that's not a deal breaker. You could do the exact same moves in the exact same conditions and you'll probably get an equal result as far as the inflation. But yeah, the Spider inflates easily. That would be my problem. If I was going to pick an Ozone wing to start with, that's probably the one that I would go with. Again, it'll teach you that pitch control, that performance. It gives you the performance as well as the safety without hindering your ability to progress. Now, if you're spending $3,500 on a new glider or $4,000, depending on who and what you get it from. By the way, I sell both of these gliders if you're interested, all three of them. I can get you. I've been doing it because of this post myself out there as a dealer, but full disclosure, I do purchase these gliders through dealer status and sell them to my students mainly. But again, if someone needs something, I'm happy to assist if I can. I'd like to talk to you face to face and discuss the best option if that's a possibility, if you want to go that route. But these are just some findings that I've come across over the last couple of years of teaching people to fly these craft. Is a wing can be too safe. Again, with all the caveats that I mentioned, that's where I'm at with it. I feel like most people will get away with learning better on, let's say, a B glider than an A wing. Now, and I made a video about how they determine A versus B, safety versus performance. Between the A and the B, say a glider only got one B grade because like big ears sticky, like you got to kind of pump a brake to get the big ears to pop out. That'll get a glider a B rating, whereas everything else gets an A rating. But again, just that one little thing seems to be enough maybe to give the wing like the profile, the trim setting, the performance that it needs to outfly the dog-ear wings, the ones that want to hang back behind you and that with any little input of brake before you have speed is going to make that thing fall. Now, what I see people struggling with when they step up to their next glider, an intermediate class glider, these are your Mac Para Colorados, your Gen Falcons. Ozone has, what's their intermediate offering? Sirocco 2. Ozone has the Sirocco 2. The Dudek has the Nucleon XX. There are several. These are the gliders that are intermediate gliders, kind of the good stepping stones that you'll step into when you go for your next glider. They're not the best gliders to learn on. They're a step ahead of even the Spiders or the Universals in the fact that they give you high performance, high roll rates. The same amount of brake input that you would put on a Mojo would get you like a 90-degree bank on one of these other gliders that I'm talking about. So we don't want to start on that. We want to start on something that is forgiving, that has some passive safety, that doesn't crank and bank like a damn fighter jet. But when you step over into those gliders, the thing that I see most with people that are stepping up from Mojos is they don't have the pitch control because they've never had to stop that glider from shooting past them. And then the first thing that happens when they step into these intermediate gliders, glider shoots past them, folds, they either crumple it up or they face plant or they trip. They lose the glider because they don't have that reaction, that ingrained immediate pull down on the brakes to stop that glider from shooting past you, pitch control. That's really what the gist of this video is about, is controlling the pitch of the glider. I don't know if I could say anything else about it. I just had an idea to discuss some things with the audience, and I thought that this might make a good video. That's it, guys. I'm gonna go do some video editing, and then I'm meeting some students at the field. We're doing some wintertime thermaling. Well, it's not technically winter yet. Oh, it's just a beautiful day outside. It's supposed to be high around 70 degrees. Nice soft thermals. The ground is not too wet. It should be all day flying, even for low time pilots. And I'm meeting a group of pilots out at Gillem Airfield. We're gonna go out there and do some midday stuff. It should be fun. I hope you come along for that video. Subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll know when it drops. It'll be coming down the pipe pretty soon, I hope. But I wanted to drop this one now and here and just tell you guys that I appreciate all the support and the love. And I will see you guys on the next one. Give it a thumbs up if you're still here. That helps, they say. I really don't know. I'll probably suck at YouTube when it comes just right down to the truth of the matter. We'll find out. Much love, everybody. Kyle out.